I'm here with Katie Linkhart. She's actually from a town just one town over from me, and we got connected through a mutual friend. She's got a great story, has actually lost 156 pounds. And Katie, thanks for spending the time to chat with me. And first off, maybe we could just start with where you're from and a little bit about yourself.
So I am originally from Broussard, Louisiana. I'm residing currently in Carencro. My husband and I are about to start building our first home together. I've been married for about 4.5 years. No children yet, although we're praying for one to hopefully arrive soon, one day soon. I am a speech pathologist. I work with the geriatric population. Love my job. I come from a pretty big size family. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. Um, Wonderful, beautiful, growing family, great friends. That's me.
Awesome. I think you mentioned in a message to me that as a child you were teased because of your weight. Did you
Absolutely.
did you kind of grow up a bigger kid? And maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
I did. I did. I've always had a weight problem as early as I can remember. I remember being in school, being teased, in the neighborhood, getting teased, going to sleepovers and slumber parties. And because of my weight, I was always teased, whether we were on a trampoline jumping. There was jokes about that I could break the trampoline, or when we were in PE, I was never picked to be on people's teams because I was overweight and called, names and fat. People thought I'd be slow. And so I came home crying many, many days from school and from the neighborhood and from sleepovers. I often would call my mom every time I went to a sleepover before the night even ended to be picked up because I was teased so bad. So yeah.
I think you also said, I come from a family that instilled unhealthy habits in me when it comes to food at a very young age. I was rewarded for my behavior, for my grades, for all accomplishments with food. Can you kind of maybe give some examples of that and how that maybe shaped your view of food growing up?
Yeah, so when I said I came from that kind of family, my whole family has been overweight. We've all had weight problems. I have one sister that was blessed to just be small, is what we say. Never had a weight issue, but the rest of us, my mom, we've all battled some pretty difficult weight issues. And from a young child, food was used for many other reasons other than for nourishment. We had a good report card. We went get ice cream. We cleaned our room. We went get ice cream or went out to dinner. Anything we were celebrating was around food. I come from a very big Italian family, and so just that alone is centered around food. Even sad things. You had a bad day at school, or someone hurt your feelings, or go and get a bowl of ice cream. I distinctly remember I was telling my sister today, at any given time, we would have at least 3 to 4 half gallons of Bluebell in the outside freezer. I mean, we always knew that was out there. Ice cream was our go-to, whether we were happy, sad, whatever, it was in the outside freezer. So I just think from a young age, food wasn't something that I learned as being a fuel for myself. It was used as a crutch for many different reasons.
And for people who might not be familiar with this part of the country or maybe even the South in general, how do you think maybe growing up in the South, I know you did mention that your family, you come from an Italian family, but how did growing up specifically in South Louisiana influence the way that you viewed food, or what kind of food that entailed growing up?
Well, growing up in South Louisiana, as you know, well, first of all, I just feel like our Southern culture here, we get together for every little thing. Whatever we're celebrating, there's a party involved. And if there's a party involved, there's a ton of food involved. And a lot of food. If you have gumbo, you don't just have a little bowl of gumbo. You have potato salad and French bread and dessert later. So there was access to such good food all the time. Festivals with lots of great food. We just come from a place that has a lot of really great bad food. Everything is fried.
It's so true. I think you also said that you talked about the Bluebell ice cream in the freezer. You said food kind of became an emotional comfort for you, and what did that mean? Like, was that kind of what you were speaking to as far as, you have a bad day and that's kind of just the default that you go to? Or what place did that serve, or how did it, emotionally fill a void?
Well, it made me feel good. It was something that that I could control, but I think bottom line is it really just made me feel good inside. I'm someone that I think I have a food addiction, 110%. And unless you have experienced a food addiction, I don't think you really understand the true meaning of it. But I was addicted to food, and it felt good. It felt nice to sit down with a bowl of ice cream, as crazy as that sounds to somebody, and indulge in it. I mean, I remember hiding snacks in my room as a little kid. I would go and get sometimes a little tub of icing for, cakes and cupcakes, and I'd keep it in my room with a spoon, and I would just go to it and eat a little bit at a time, and it made me feel good. It did. It made me feel good to eat.
Yeah, I know for myself, I don't know if I've ever thought about it in terms of an addiction necessarily, but or maybe not in the same ways, but I definitely remember not being able to stop, not being able to know when is enough, and it just kind of becoming something that it just happens and happens and happens and happens, and all of a sudden you're looking at a bag of potato chips or ice cream or whatever, and then you're like, well, why is that empty? Where did it all go? I think you said that through high school and college is where you ended up really kind of putting on the weight. What do you think about it? What do you think about that time in your life contributed to that? What made those times be the times that really that was kind of the cause that?
So high school is when I'd say the pounds started coming on more so. I participated in speech and debate in high school, so we had tournaments every weekend, late at night. We didn't get home till sometimes midnight. And so I would eat through the tournaments, eating junk from vending machines, from fast food. Then on the way home, I would get fast food. So that's kind of when it started. When it really started getting to a dangerous place was when I entered college. They always say, your freshman 15, but my freshman 15 started doubling and tripling pretty quick. I was very immersed in my studies. I also, other than being a full-time student, I worked full-time. I nannied for a wonderful family. But again, I was working really late hours. And, when the kids would go to sleep, what was there to do? Sit on the couch, watch TV, and eat. I never really paid attention to giving myself a good home-cooked meal. I was always on the road going to school or going to work or studying at the library. And so the things that were easy and quick and cheap were things that were not healthy for me. And I didn't have family members, tell me, listen, you need to slow down. You're gaining too much weight. And you don't see it for yourself. Looking back, when I look at pictures, I'm like, man, how did I let myself get to that point? But you don't see it when you're in it, and I was a good student. I made great, grades. And so that was what I was getting praised on, and that's all that I really cared about was being this good student. And my husband, at the time, he was just my boyfriend, but he loved me for me, no matter what size I was. And so I didn't have the pressures to lose weight. By the time you get to college, you don't have the people teasing you like you do in high school and elementary school. It's not like that. So when I stopped getting teased, I stopped paying attention to my weight.
And did you guys ever have that conversation? I know at some point he became your husband. Did you guys ever have the conversation of, concern for health or concern for weight or anything like that? Or was that something that was just never discussed?
It really was never discussed. My husband is, he could stand to probably lose 15, 20 pounds, but he's a big guy, 6'6". So, he's just naturally a bigger person and loves to eat and comes from a family who are amazing cooks and is used to eating things like rice and gravy and big meals like that. And so it was never a topic of conversation until I lost the weight. We really never talked about when I was overweight.
And I think you told me a story about an experience that you had on vacation in 2013, and that after that you did lose some weight. Can you kind of tell that story?
Yes. So January of 2013, my husband and I were celebrating our 1 year wedding anniversary in Mexico. We took a cruise to Mexico. And by then, I was kind of starting to feel some of the pressures of my weight, being tired and hot and uncomfortable. But we had went with another couple who does not have a weight problem. And I remember being on the beach in Mexico, and I'm in this beautiful place with my husband and great friends, and I should be having fun, but I wasn't, because I was so uncomfortable. I wouldn't take my cover up off. I wouldn't go into the ocean and enjoy the scenery of Mexico, because I was embarrassed, and I didn't know, other than this other couple and my husband, I knew nobody there. Probably people that wouldn't even have looked at me and thought twice about it, and other people that were like me, large and even larger in their bathing suits, enjoying their trip, and I didn't. I was very upset and embarrassed, and I didn't enjoy my trip the way I wanted to. And so when I got home, I started researching and trying to find some outdoor boot camps, and I found one in particular. And I remember I emailed the lady, because I knew as a college student I was not about to afford that every month at outdoor boot camp. And I explained to her, listen, I need to lose this weight. I can't pay what you're charging, but, I think I can be dedicated, and I think I can be good at this. Could you give me a chance? And she did. And she let me pay a cheaper rate than everyone. And I did that for about a year. And in that year, I lost about 60 pounds. And I was ecstatic. I mean, I thought that was a huge deal. I was all over it. But even though I was losing the weight, I wasn't changing the other parts of myself. I was still binge eating on the weekends. I would many times go to an outdoor boot camp workout, and on the way home pick up pizza for my husband and I. So I was going through the motions, but I wasn't making the internal changes. And sadly, after that year, she had sold her business, kind of just fizzled out. And when I quit going to the boot camps, I quit working out entirely. And with that, I quit eating healthy completely.
Yeah, I think you said that by 2015 you had gained the weight back plus an additional 40 pounds.
Yes.
You went for a sleep study, and the results basically said that you were having 110 episodes of sleep apnea per hour on average, which meant that you spent less time breathing. Sorry, is that right? Less time breathing than not
Yes,
breathing.
I was spending more time per night not breathing than I was actually breathing. I remember that semester, spring semester of school, I started school in that semester, and I was having a lot of trouble staying awake, and I was getting enough sleep. I wasn't waking up through the night, so I thought. And so I told my doctor about it, and he said, let's get a sleep study. And I did the sleep study, and that's why I was so tired, because I was not getting sufficient amount of oxygen to, keep my body going. And so I got my sleep machine, and I remember the first night I put it on, that next morning I woke up and I felt like a whole nother person. Like I was finally getting air, at night. So that was a pretty big turning point for me, because that was hard, to be at that time 23 years old wearing the sleep machine. I'll never forget when I would snore so bad that my husband finally told me, all right, Sunday night until Thursday night, you have to put your head on the other side of the bed because you snore too much. But come Friday night and Saturday night, I'll invite you back up. And I said, man, this is starting to affect my marriage. This isn't okay. And I was embarrassed to wear that machine. I remember going to sleep at a friend's house and, toting around my CPAP. And it's embarrassing, to be that age and have that device, that you depend on to wear.
So was that experience kind of a point where was that like kind of a deciding point for you, or was it more gradual after that? What was your place where you said, it's time to make a change, and then kind of move forward with that?
So that at that point, even though that should have been the eye opener for me, it wasn't. It was an eye opener, but it wasn't the eye opener. Um, I just kept getting uncomfortable. I was ending my college career. I remember I had my college graduation from a master's degree, and I was looking back at pictures from graduation, and I was mortified with what I saw. I don't know what it was, maybe because I was so used to when I took pictures, having someone take them and taking them 10 times over to make sure I looked skinny, what I thought. But maybe because everyone else took the pictures of me that day and I didn't get to control them, I saw, okay, this is what I truly look like. And I was embarrassed by it. The deciding factor, though, in contacting someone and figuring out that I need to change my life, were two big things. One, my husband and I were at a point where we wanted to start a family. And I knew I couldn't start a family at that size. That's not healthy for me to be pregnant. I went to speak with my doctor about it. He told me it wasn't healthy. He said, you're going to have all these complications right now if you were to get pregnant. So that was number one. The second thing is my dad was very sick. He has a very advanced form of multiple myeloma cancer. And that summer, we were getting ready to start his stem cell transplant in Houston. And my dad always was such a big supporter of me through life, through my grades and whatnot. And we would talk about my weight at that point. And he'd say, Kate, you wanted a 4.0 in school. You put in the hard work. You did it. There's no reason why you can't get this weight off. And I knew that he wanted to see me healthy. And with him going through something like this in his life, being so unhealthy, I wanted to show him that I could do this and I could get healthy, not just for me, but for him. And so that was my motivation in finding someone.
And I think that you said that early on you had a friend that you met for coffee and you now realize that was one of the most important days of your life. You mind sharing that story?
Absolutely. So around January, I'd seen a few girls losing some weight on Facebook, and I'd look and I'd think, oh, good for them. But then I'd still go eat ice cream and pizza and thought, whatever, I'll do that one day. But one girl in particular, her name is Emily. I was following her journey starting in about January. I started really noticing it. And every time I'd see her post something, I'd see myself reading her stuff, reading people's comments and thinking, man, like she looks amazing. Look at these changes she's making in her life. And so in June, so from January to June, I kind of followed her story. And in June, I private messaged her and said, listen, I've been following your journey. Could you meet up with me? I'd love to hear more about it. And so she met with myself as well as my sister, who also is wanting to lose weight. She met us for coffee and kind of explained what she had been doing, how amazing it was, encouraging us to look into it, telling us, you can do this, you can do this. And so I was sold after meeting her. I realized that I needed to do this for myself. And so I called the trainer. We met up the next week, and we decided on a date a week later. We were going to Houston that following weekend. So I knew, like, hey, I'm not about to start this diet in Houston. I don't know what I'm doing. I know I'm not going to work out. So she said, go enjoy yourself with your sister and your dad in Houston. And when you get back, we'll start on Tuesday. So my sister and I went to Houston, hung out with my dad. This is right before his stem cell transplant. And I mean, we ate like crazy. I mean, you'd swear it was the last supper we knew we were having. I mean, even that night, I remember we would go find dessert shops so we could just eat dessert after eating a huge dinner. I mean, we filled ourselves with every possible thing we could think of before starting this diet. And so, in my meeting with her, looking back, I was confident that my trainer, had the knowledge and the skills to help me do this. But I thought, that this isn't going to be me. I'm going to lose maybe 60 pounds because I did that before, but I can't make a lifestyle change like some of these other girls. And she told me that my first 6 months by Christmas, this is, the end of June, by Christmas, I could lose 75 plus pounds. And I literally laughed out loud. Like, oh, okay, sure. Maybe Susie Q could do that, but all right, we'll see. 6 months, you're crazy. But I said, okay. And so when I got back from Houston, I met with her on July 7th, 2015 for my first one-on-one training session. And I told myself in the parking lot when I got there, I said, Katie, She said you could lose this by Christmas, give it till Christmas. Put your all into it. Don't cheat, don't go off the diet, show up at every workout, put in the effort till Christmas, and we'll see if you can make it till there. And I had a fire in me that I can't explain, but that first class was rough. I mean, it was the hardest thing. And still to this day, I look back at, some of the things around the gym that she had me do. And I think, oh my God, I remember thinking, just stepping up on one step was the hardest thing in the world. And it's crazy to look back and see what I can do now.
That's awesome. Yeah, you said in a message that when you first walked into the gym, you weighed 338 pounds. You were tired, unhappy with yourself, depressed, embarrassed, miserable in my own skin, and didn't know if there was any hope for losing weight.
Yeah.
So now you're a year out. You told me that you just hit your 1-year goal. Yeah. How does that compare to the person you are today?
I always felt like there was this little person inside of me that wanted to be fit, that wanted to do these sports and all these things, but because of all the weight that I put on, like I couldn't do it, and I always wanted to be that confident, fun person. But I feel like now that I've lost the weight, that I can be and I can enjoy myself. One, physically, I can't even put into words how I feel. I mean, I feel completely different. It's truly hard to put into words. I'm off my CPAP machine. That was a huge deal, not sleeping with that anymore.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Just a feeling of, I don't feel trapped. I feel like that's the best way to describe it. I felt so trapped in my own body. I feel comfortable. I can wear clothes. I can pick clothes that I just like on the rack. I don't have to pick clothes that hide my body or that are just, comfortable. I can actually pick clothes that are cute and trendy that all the other girls are wearing. And I just feel so much happier. I feel like I'm a happier person at work. I'm a happier person in my friendships and my marriage with my family. I feel like there's nothing that I can't accomplish now. I feel like this feat of my weight struggle has to be the hardest thing I'll ever accomplish in life. The hardest thing I'm ever going to go against. I feel determined that if I put my mind to something, I'm going to be able to do it, because me putting my mind to losing this weight and becoming this new person has been the hardest thing I've done in life thus far. And so I feel amazing. I really do. I do.
That's awesome. Is there anything that has changed in the last year that surprised you, whether it's, emotionally, physically, socially, things that you weren't necessarily expecting, but maybe have come up that you said, oh, wow, this is different?
Well, this journey has things that come up all the time that are unexpected. One thing that I'm kind of still struggling with that people don't tell you, you think, oh, I'm going to lose however much weight and I'm just going to be a smaller version of myself. But there's things about your body that changes, a lot of changes with your body that aren't exciting. When you, like where I'm at, losing 156 pounds, I mean, that's a whole person. I mean, it truly is. And I have some loose skin, and it's something that was inevitable, losing this much weight. And that's been one hard part of the journey, because you don't imagine that in the beginning. You just imagine your body being the same thing, just smaller. And I've had to learn to get away from that shame that I had before, because I had so much shame and guilt as a heavier person. And I noticed as getting smaller, I would still put a shirt on. And before it's, oh, I don't like my fat arms. And now it's like, oh, but I have this skin on my arms. And I've had to learn I can't do that to myself. If anybody looks at me walking down the road with a sleeveless shirt and thinks, oh my God, look at her loose skin, well, shame on them. Because what they should be saying is, she has loose skin. She probably was a badass and lost all that weight, So that's something I've had to learn through this journey. I had to forgive myself. I put on that weight. I had to take it off, but I'm a healthier person from it, and I had to forgive myself for what I did to my body.
Yeah, I think that's a important part of the whole thing is kind of becoming at peace with yourself and like you said, forgiving yourself. And it's one of those things that, like you mentioned, people just don't talk about a ton these days.
They don't.
Yeah. So, as far as now, physical activities, what do you enjoy? What are you excited to do?
So, well, right now, 3 days a week, I participate in a boot camp with the girls. When I had first started my workout, I was not ready to join the girls, so I did a one-on-one training. Um, and then after I got under 300 pounds, I joined the group of boot camp girls. So I do that 3 days a week. I work out with an amazing group of girls. Also, through this journey, I found spin cycling. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I love to get on the bike. I love to sprint it out on the bike. That's one of my favorite things. And running, which I never ever in a million years thought I could do. I still remember. In fact, I still have the video of when I ran my first mile, and I thought, oh my God, 1 mile, like, hold the phone. This is a huge deal, 1 mile. And I started just getting addicted to running, and 1 mile became my first 5K. And then after that, I started getting up to 6 miles. And I am currently training for my first half marathon, which will be in October, the Gulf Coast Half Marathon, which seems insane to me, 13.1 miles. Like, it just seems crazy, but I know I'm going to do it. Just like 5 miles seemed crazy, but when I did it, it was an amazing feeling. So boot camp, cycling, and running are my physical activities.
And looking in the future, I know you said you have the half marathon, kind of on the deck, but any goals that you have when you look maybe beyond October? You look a year, 2 years, 5 years down the road for yourself, whether it's physically or just personally.
Well, my biggest goal is to help somebody else lose weight. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to do it. I've pondered becoming a personal trainer, becoming a health coach. I'm not sure what avenue it's going to be, but I want to help people that were in the same shoes as me. When you're in that place, that deep dark place, because I truly feel like it's a deep dark place, you really feel like there's no way out. And even if you have all the time and money to devote to it, it's so much work, and sometimes it just feels easier to stay that size than to put in that work to lose the weight. And so I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but I want to find a way to help others, get on this journey and find who they truly are.
And what would you say to somebody who maybe is at the beginning of this journey? Maybe somebody who's listening or watching and who is trying to, is wrestling with all this, who's where you were, before you first started, and is trying to, is looking for some words of encouragement from somebody who's been there and who's put in the work and who's done it.
Well, I would first tell them to breathe, because every day is going to be a struggle. Every day you have to wake up with the desire and put in that hard work, and to know that every day is a new day. If you make a mistake, if you eat something bad, you didn't go for your workout, that's yesterday. Start a new day and don't give up, because every day that you do something towards your fitness or towards your health, whether it's a good eating decision or taking a walk, that's one step closer to your goal. And so that would be my advice. Don't give up, because you are stronger than what you think, and you are worth it.
That's great. And if you could go back and have a conversation with your 338-pound self and give some advice to that person that you think maybe would have resonated or would have connected, what would that be?
Oh boy, that's tough. But it actually makes me feel a little emotional thinking about that. I think I would tell myself that you can do it. That you are so much more than your weight, and you are so much more than that number on the scale, and you just have to find the inner strength to get over that hill and to fight that battle, because you can't let this bring you down. You can't let this define you, because it's not. Our weight does not define us. It's not who we are. We just have to fight through it.
Awesome. And lastly, where can people find out more about you, what you're doing, and connect with you?
So I'm on Facebook. You can search me, Katie Linkhart. Read my story. I have my journey on Facebook. I post a lot about what I'm doing. My gym, Fusion Fit in Broussard, Louisiana, is the best place in the entire world. I mean, there's not, every trainer is amazing. And so if you're looking for a gym in Broussard, I live in Carencro and I drive 35 minutes to get to this gym in Broussard. That's how amazing it is. So Fusion Fit in Broussard, Louisiana, and tell them Katie Linkhart sent you.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, Katie, thanks for the inspiration, for sharing your story, for your openness, and hopefully I'll look forward to seeing you around town sometime.
Thanks.
All right, have a great day.